Hello, welcome back to Can It Chase Paranormal Investigations. So this is the third of my childhood experiences, and this was an interesting one. Um, it was actually from the same house as my previous experience, and what was happening a lot. I had a little room to myself. I don't think I started out like that, but I definitely had a little room to myself. We had a huge house. I had a little room to myself, and I started experiencing kind of really sort of strange events at night. To me, they were really strange and quite frightening. What happened was I would lie in bed and I'd see this sort of white sort of shimmer come around my room, and then it would move off, and this is a very short video, by the way. I spoke to my mom about it. I said, "Mom, there's a blob in a room," and my dad was present as well. I remember my dad saying, "Well, it's obvious what that is. When the car goes past of an evening, the light sort of carries around and it disappears." I think it was when I used to go to bed. I didn't always close my curtains, and I can't remember if the same thing happened when the curtains were closed. I think it might have done, but I can't remember. So I don't really want to sort of put that memory into what I actually experienced. So yeah, my dad would say it's when the car lights go past. When the car goes past, the lights sort of move around with it, and that's what you experience. It's a reflection of a fraction of light kind of thing. And yeah, so this happened a few times, and I think it was the one. This is funny actually. I think it was the one night when it happened. I got really scared. Maybe about 9 o'clock at night, and I got up and I went downstairs, and I told my mum and dad were there. I think one of my brothers was there, and I said, the blobs in my room. And it was funny because they were watching a horror film at the time. I think it was The Mummy's Hand or something like that. And so yeah, this went on for a few days, and telling my mum about the white blob and what I learnt. And then it just kind of faded away. I didn't really experience it, or maybe I was able to sleep through it, or and there's lots of other things going on when you're like really small, so it's hard to kind of differentiate between one thing or another as reality or as fantasy, or you tend to kind of fill in the gaps when you're young because you're trying to make sense of the world. So I get that as probably what I was doing, but the blob thing, I was kind of certain it didn't feel, to me, it just innately didn't feel normal. And obviously my mom was, she listened to me. My mom's has a Ouija board, and so she was more in touch with spirituals, stuff like that, more than I would probably imagine. And sadly she passed away when I was 20, so I never really got to talk to her about any of this stuff. I was too busy being an idiot of a teenager running about and doing stuff. But I think she was probably more in touch with the spiritual world than I could possibly imagine. My dad, on the other hand, was a business manager. He was very pragmatic. He was he didn't have time for this kind of thing, and he very much dismissed this as that light of the car going round. So yeah, I mean, I experienced this blob thing in my bedroom, and got to the point where I sort of ran out of my bedroom downstairs. There's a blob in my bedroom, and that was it. What I heard when I was a little bit older, and I was talking to my mom, I think I was about 17. I was I was unemployed at the time, so I was sitting on the side of the bed, and I was talking to her about childhood memories and stuff. And I mentioned the blob in the bedroom, and my mom said, yeah, Mom's basically said what the vibe that I got from my parents, which was that she was interested in it. My dad wasn't interested in it. And a few days after I said about the blob in the bedroom, she encountered the blob on the landing. So there was definitely something there, and it was like a white shimmering shape sort of thing. And that was it. She didn't say whether she encountered it before or after that one occasion, but it definitely lent a little bit of credence to my experiences. The house that we were living in was very strange, and we had 3 floors. We'd often rent out the top bit to, I think it was to various people. I'm sure we had nurses stopping there. We had a guy who was there right to the very end when we went to sell it, and he didn't want us to sell. We had a lady there who died. And that was actually another anecdotal story that my mom told me, that she woke up one night, dead of night, probably about 2 o'clock in the morning, and she says what she thought she saw was a black hand on the ceiling, and it was like really kind of freaked me out. Years later when she told me, when I was old enough to stop and listen, this black hand was on the ceiling. And the next morning, the lady who was renting the room off us had passed away, and that was really, really odd, because my mom at the time, she woke up, saw it, then she went back to sleep. I think we dismiss a lot of stuff we see in the middle of the night, because we're sort of in between that waking and being awake and being asleep. I think unless it was a persistent bang or noise that registered alarm that there might be the living invading your house. I think sometimes paranormal stuff can happen when you're sort of in those in-betweeny moments of sleep and wakefulness, and it almost falls us into imagining that nothing happened. But I do wonder whether we're sort of kept in that semi-conscious state and then back to sleep, whether that's the way it's meant to be if you see certain stuff at night. For sure, I mean, I've woken up to... actually, I'll make another video of that, but yeah, things have happened in the night when I've sort of woken up, and I have actually gone back to sleep, and it's really, really weird. So that was just this second short story. I'm thinking of quite a lot of quite a lot of little paranormal things that happened when I was a kid that I really sort of dismissed. My mum used to tell me about stuff as well that I'd done that made no sense. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed that little story, and I'm using these like little stories just to basically give you an idea of why I kind of believe in the paranormal, but I'm also a skeptic, and yeah, just to kind of paint the scene, paint the backdrop to my life, and what I think about now. And I look back on these things and they're quite frightening, but they're also quite interesting looking back on them too. So yeah, till next time, take care of yourselves, have a great day.